In the words of Lee Kuan Yew himself, "I have always thought that humanity was animal-like. The Confucian theory was man could be improved, but I'm not sure he can be. He can be trained, he can be disciplined." This quote encapsulates the pragmatic and disciplined approach that Lee Kuan Yew applied to his leadership, a philosophy that was rooted in a realistic view of human nature. This philosophy would guide Lee Kuan Yew in transforming Singapore, a small island nation with no natural resources, into a global powerhouse. Born in 1923, Lee Kuan Yew's early life was marked by adversity. His humble beginnings were in a small, traditional family home in Singapore. His parents were of Hakka and Hokkien descent, and they instilled in him the importance of hard work, discipline, and respect for education from a young age. In the crucible of his childhood, Lee's resilience was forged. He excelled academically, earning a place at the prestigious Raffles Institution, and later Raffles College. But his world was turned upside down when World War II arrived on Singapore's shores. The brutality and chaos of the Japanese occupation shattered his youthful innocence, but also ignited an indomitable spirit within him. The war years were a dark period, but they also shaped Lee's worldview. He saw firsthand the consequences of powerlessness, and this experience would later fuel his determination to ensure his homeland would never be subjugated again. After the war, Lee ventured to Britain to study law at the esteemed Cambridge University. It was there, amidst the intellectual fervour of post-war Britain, that his political ideals began to take shape. He was deeply influenced by the principles of social justice and the rule of law. He observed how these principles were the bedrock of a stable, prosperous society. And he began to dream of a Singapore that could be just as successful, but he also saw the limitations of the British system. He noted the class divisions and the social inequities that were entrenched in society. And he was determined that Singapore would chart a different course. In Britain, Lee not only honed his legal acumen, but also cultivated his political philosophy. He returned to Singapore not as a starry-eyed idealist, but as a pragmatic visionary. He had a clear-eyed understanding of the challenges that lay ahead, and the political will to confront them. Lee Kuan Yew returned to Singapore, equipped with a vision for a better future and the tools to make it happen. He had seen the world, absorbed its lessons, and was ready to apply them to the task of nation-building. The stage was set for the next chapter in Singapore's history, and Lee Kuan Yew was ready to write it. In 1954, Lee Kuan Yew, along with a group of English-educated men, formed the People's Action Party, or PAP. It was a time of turbulence and change across Asia, and Singapore was no exception. The party was born out of a shared belief that Singapore needed to break free from colonial rule and chart its own course. The PAP was a motley crew of ambitious individuals united by a common goal of self-governance. Their mission was clear: to fight for a fair and just society where the benefits of progress would be shared by all. This was a lofty goal, and the path to achieving it was fraught with challenges. In the early years, the PAP faced considerable opposition from both within and outside its ranks. There were ideological differences, struggles for power, and the ever-present threat of communism. But Lee and his team were not deterred. They understood that the road to independence was a long and arduous one, and they were prepared to face whatever came their way. In the midst of all this, the party also had to contend with a skeptical public. Many Singaporeans, particularly the Chinese-educated masses, viewed the PAP and its English-speaking leaders with suspicion. They saw them as elitists, out of touch with the common man's struggles. Winning their trust and support was no easy task, but the PAP was relentless in its efforts. They tirelessly campaigned across the island, reaching out to the people, addressing their concerns, and convincing them of their vision for a better Singapore. Their hard work and determination paid off in the 1959 general elections, when they won a resounding victory, securing 43 of the 51 seats. This victory marked the beginning of a new era for Singapore, with Lee Kuan Yew at its helm. But it was only the start of a long journey, filled with countless challenges and obstacles. Yet, as we'll see, under Lee's leadership, Singapore would overcome these hurdles and transform into the prosperous nation it is today. In 1965, Singapore was thrust into independence, an event that would shape the destiny of the nation. Following a contentious merger with Malaysia in 1963, tensions flared and Singapore was expelled just 2 years later. Suddenly, the small island nation found itself alone on the world stage, faced with the daunting task of survival. Singapore had few natural resources to speak of, and its economy was largely dependent on entrepot trade. It was a tumultuous time filled with uncertainty, but amidst the chaos, one man stepped forward to steer the ship of the nation: Lee Kuan Yew. Lee was no stranger to adversity. He'd weathered political storms and personal tragedies, and he was not about to let Singapore falter on his watch. Despite the odds stacked against him, Lee was resolute. He knew that Singapore's survival hinged on stability and economic growth. In his own words, Lee said, "There was no guidebook, no roadmap. We had to find our own way." And find a way he did. He assembled a capable team, and with a clear vision, they set about to build a nation. They implemented policies that promoted industrialization, foreign investment and education. Lee understood that Singapore's strength lay in its people, and he was determined to harness that potential. Lee also played a pivotal role in establishing Singapore's international relationships. He sought to position Singapore as a neutral state, maintaining diplomatic ties with both Eastern and Western powers. This strategy enabled Singapore to navigate the complexities of the Cold War era, and it also attracted foreign investment, further bolstering the economy. Yet it was not an easy journey. There were setbacks and hurdles along the way, but through it all, Lee remained steadfast. His leadership was marked by pragmatism and resilience, qualities that would become the bedrock of Singapore's success. Despite the daunting challenges, Lee Kuan Yew was determined to transform Singapore into a thriving nation. His vision and tenacity laid the foundation for Singapore's remarkable transformation from a struggling city-state to one of the world's most prosperous nations. With independence came the task of nation-building, a task Lee Kuan Yew approached with a unique vision. In the wake of independence, Lee Kuan Yew was faced with a monumental challenge. Singapore was a fledgling city-state with a population divided along ethnic lines, a lack of natural resources, and a limited economy. Yet, Lee was undeterred. He saw potential in the people of Singapore and set about implementing policies that would shape the country into a thriving global powerhouse. One of Lee's earliest and most significant policies was the development of public housing. In a bid to foster a sense of community and belonging, he launched the Housing Development Board in 1960. Under this program, high-rise apartments were built and made affordable for the average Singaporean. This not only solved the housing crisis, but also engendered a sense of unity among the diverse populace. Next, Lee turned his attention to education. Recognizing its importance in nation-building, he implemented a bilingual policy in schools. Students were required to learn English, the global language of commerce and technology, alongside their mother tongue. This policy not only provided the workforce with a competitive edge on the international stage, but also maintained the cultural heritage of the individual ethnic groups. Perhaps one of Lee's most significant achievements was the creation of a harmonious multiracial society. He introduced policies that promoted racial integration and harmony. Ethnic quotas were set for housing blocks to prevent racial enclaves, and racial riots were strictly dealt with. These measures ensured that Singaporeans, regardless of their ethnic backgrounds, learned to live together in harmony. Lee's vision of nation-building was not limited to mere infrastructure or social policies. He believed in a corruption-free society and established the Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau, setting a high standard of integrity for the country's public service. Through these policies, Lee Kuan Yew set the foundation for Singapore's transformation. His vision, his unwavering commitment to his people, and his transformative approach to nation-building turned Singapore from a small island with no natural resources into a global economic powerhouse. His legacy continues to shape the nation today. At the heart of Singapore's transformation was its economic development. Lee Kuan Yew was not just a visionary but a pragmatic leader. He understood the importance of economic stability and growth in nation-building. He knew that for Singapore to survive and thrive, it had to be economically strong and independent. So he set out to transform the nation's economy. One of the cornerstones of Lee's economic policies was to attract foreign investments. He believed that foreign companies could bring in much-needed capital, technology, and expertise. He created a business-friendly environment with attractive tax incentives and a robust legal framework. The result? A surge in foreign investments that fueled Singapore's rapid industrialization. But Lee Kuan Yew knew that attracting investments was not enough. He needed to ensure that the business environment was clean and corruption-free. He implemented strict anti-corruption laws and established a culture of integrity and transparency. This not only increased investor confidence, but also set Singapore apart from many other developing nations. Beyond this, Lee Kuan Yew saw the potential for Singapore to become a global financial hub. He established robust financial institutions, introduced sound fiscal policies, and created a stable economic environment. He also invested heavily in education and skills training to ensure that Singapore had a skilled workforce to support its financial sector. Today, Singapore is home to many of the world's leading banks and financial institutions, testament to Lee's vision and foresight. Under Lee Kuan Yew's leadership, Singapore underwent a remarkable transformation, and it became one of the world's most prosperous nations. Its per capita income skyrocketed, and it achieved one of the highest standards of living in the world. This was no small feat, and it was made possible by Lee's bold and visionary economic policies. Under Lee Kuan Yew's leadership, Singapore experienced an economic miracle. Lee Kuan Yew passed away in 2015, but his legacy continues to shape Singapore. Indeed, the Lion City that we see today is a testament to Lee's indomitable spirit and visionary leadership. He took a tiny, resource-poor island nation on the brink of chaos and transformed it into a gleaming global hub of finance, trade and innovation, all within a single generation. The story of Singapore under Lee's leadership is one of transformation, of a relentless pursuit of progress. His policies emphasized meritocracy, multiculturalism and economic pragmatism, pillars that continue to hold up the city-state today. Meritocracy, for instance, is deeply ingrained in Singapore's education system, which is known for its rigorous standards and its focus on excellence. This emphasis on merit and ability has fostered a culture of competitiveness and productivity that has played a crucial role in Singapore's economic success. Multiculturalism, another of Lee's core principles, is palpable in the city-state's vibrant diversity. From its 4 official languages to its varied religious practices and its mouth-watering hawker centres, Singapore is a melting pot of cultures, a testament to Lee's belief in the strength of diversity and harmony. And then there's economic pragmatism. Lee was a firm believer in free trade and economic openness. He courted foreign investment, promoted technological innovation, and ensured a corruption-free business environment. These strategies have transformed Singapore into a global economic powerhouse, a magnet for multinational corporations and a model of efficiency and transparency. Lee's vision for Singapore was not just about economic prosperity, it was about creating a fair, harmonious and progressive society. And while his methods were sometimes controversial, his impact is undeniable. Singapore's success story is a testament to Lee's leadership, his pragmatism, and his unwavering belief in the potential of his people. And so, even as we remember Lee Kuan Yew, we must also look to the future, to the Singapore that he envisioned, a nation that continues to evolve, to thrive, and to redefine what is possible. Lee Kuan Yew's story is a testament to the power of vision, leadership, and relentless determination. From a small island nation with no natural resources, Singapore has transformed into a global powerhouse. A recap of our journey reveals the pivotal role played by Lee Kuan Yew. His early life struggles, political beginnings, and the adversity he faced during Singapore's independence all shaped his transformative approach to nation building. His vision and leadership steered Singapore towards an economic miracle. In the end, Lee Kuan Yew's story is not just about the transformation of Singapore, but a reminder of what can be achieved with vision, leadership, and determination.